A tribute to Timothy Reynolds as the Ravens remember the man shot and killed by a squeegee kid last summer. Why a new video is raising more questions about the teen who pulled the trigger ahead of his sentencing tomorrow. Nearly 30 cars have been stolen in Baltimore every day this year. So what happens when you need a new one? How dealerships are describing a shift in the car buying process.
If I'd had a bigger plane, we'd probably brought the entire Senate.
And a U.S. Senate delegation shows support on a trip to Israel as the fighting enters its third week. Why top American officials feel the war with Hamas is quickly going to escalate.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
This is something that my brother would love. He would love all his family out here together at the Ravens game. We know he's with us in spirit.
Well, 15 months after the death of Timothy Reynolds, his family returned to the site where he was shot and killed by a squeegee kid. The family then made its way to M&T Bank Stadium, cheering for the Ravens with heavy hearts, remembering his love for the team and the city. The Ravens then paid tribute to Reynolds with a message on the video board at halftime. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. This vigil comes as the teenager will be sentenced tomorrow in the death of Timothy Reynolds, but the victim's family still has questions about this case. This week, a rap song allegedly detailing the crime came to light, and tonight we're hearing from the Department of Juvenile Services as Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost continues her investigation.
This expletive-laden rap song difficult to understand at first, but
and reported year to date. In that same time period last year, in 2022, just 2,682 auto thefts were recorded by Baltimore police. BPD reporting a 229% increase in this type of crime year over year.
Uptick in customers that have come in and have had their cars stolen.
In nearby Owings Mills, Len Stoller Automotive noticing a change for why some customers in the Baltimore region come in looking to buy.
It's been way more prevalent in the last, I'd say, 8 months than in times in the past.
Or in reality, replace what was taken.
We've probably seen at least, I'd say, anywhere from a 5 to 8% increase in customers that have come in that have had a car stolen, and obviously they need to have their car replaced.
While some would argue a sale or a car bought off the lot is good for business,
A great deal of harm comes to the brand itself. Anytime something like this gains traction, some folks that have had this happen to them, they might not return to the brand.
Craig Farmer says he's seen it firsthand, bruises for the brand.
And we have some customers come in that have had this happen, and they've asked about other brands that we carry versus the one that they just lost.
And while in the eyes of the law, auto theft is considered a property crime,
Far from victimless crime.
the damage done by this social media challenge, often prompting kids and teens to hotwire certain vulnerable models of Hyundais and Kias, is tangible.
It's definitely concerning. Anytime you hear things like this, like the current trends that are going on in social media, where it's almost become sort of like a game to some of these folks that decide to do it.
And not at all a game to the victims, forced to deal with the aftermath.
The manufacturers, they're doing everything they can to get in front of this.
And this dealer reiterating, if you haven't done so already and you own one of those vulnerable models, don't wait to bring your car in to the dealer for that free software upgrade. We're live in Baltimore tonight. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. We mentioned the frustration some people who've had their cars stolen. The Pulaski Impound lot is home to more than 500 stolen cars, and some people spoke to Fox 45 News about issues at this very lot. One woman says she had to pay speeding tickets racked up by the thieves before she could get her car back.
To go online and pay it. $80. And now I have to go to jump through hoops to try to get them to give me my $80 back.
In the Impound, the Baltimore City Impound lot, if you do visit it, you'll notice that there's like sections specifically for Hyundais and Kias that were smashed, and I'm just lucky that my vehicle wasn't one of those.
According to Baltimore City Police, only about 3% of those thefts have ended in arrests. A solemn moment at today's Ravens game. The Ravens took time to honor the firefighters who fought the deadly blaze in northwest Baltimore on Thursday. Rodney Pitts, pictured on the left side of the screen, died in that fire. 4 other firefighters were injured. 2 are still in the hospital, including Lieutenant Dylan Reynolds. The fire department says Reynolds' injuries will require a long hospital stay. And today, Councilwoman Odette Ramos visited their station in Hamden, extending condolences for the loss of Pitts and wishing the best for all others in recovery. Well, the search continues for the man accused of killing Maryland Judge Andrew Wilkinson. Police say he was shot multiple times outside his home in Hagerstown Thursday night.
This was a targeted attack on Judge Wilkinson. We've identified Pedro Argote, 49, of Frederick, Maryland, as a suspect in this case.
County police say Argote killed Wilkinson as an act of revenge since Wilkinson signed off on his divorce papers, ordering sole custody of his 4 children to his ex-wife. Police have located Argote's car, but he is still on the run tonight. More than a dozen trucks full of aid to Gaza are crossing in from the Egyptian border as Israel continues to consider a ground invasion. Gaza's Ministry of Health says more than 250 people have been killed over the past 24 hours. At Israel's northern border, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu offered a strong warning to the militant group Hezbollah, saying he'll cause unimaginable devastation if they provoke Israel. A group of U.S. senators just returned from Israel condemning Hamas. We'll hear more from them in just a few moments.
The Pentagon telling some U.S. troops to be prepared to deploy. I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at what violence in the Middle East could mean here at home.
And getting colder and colder. Temperatures tonight may be frost-worthy north and west. Take a look here in Baltimore County, Baltimore City. Temperatures generally going to be near 40 or low 40s, but north and west, see there, Westminster 37. I bring those tender plants inside, gardeners. 39 degrees at Elkton, 42 at Denton, and temperatures in the 30s as well. Frederick all the way down to Gaithersburg and Laurel. I'll let you know when we're going to finally warm up. Actually, could have some temperatures in the 70s to near 80. That's coming in my Weather Authority forecast.
And a live look at M&T Bank Stadium, where the Ravens took care of business today in a resounding way this afternoon. Morgan Absett and Rocco DeSangro will have all the highlights from the big win over the Lions tonight on Sports Unlimited. We'll be right back.
Where I come from, talk is still cheap. There's inflation in the world, but talk is still cheap.
Well, the Baltimore City Council is pledging to have more in-depth conversations about juvenile crime, but longtime city residents have been voicing frustration about a lack of concrete action to address the issues. Fox 45's Taylor Stewart looks into why resolutions haven't been turning into solutions.
Last week, in a unanimous vote,
please say aye.
The Baltimore City Council adopting a resolution to get a grip on juvenile crime. The measure, brought forward by District 12 Councilman Robert Stokes, calls on the Baltimore City Police Commissioner, City Schools Police Chief, and the Director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement to take a hard look at what's driving the uptick in juvenile crime and what their agencies are doing about it.
People are scared, and I understand it. Our seniors are scared. People don't like to come outside. You can't put your young people come outside and play. It's an issue that we need to keep talking about.
It is symbolic at best, but I think it is a step in the right direction.
Peace Chairman Giovanni Patterson says that is, as long as those conversations lead to action.
And we talk about juvenile crime from last year to this year, from carjackings to, the amount of homicides in our youth and the amount of youth carrying guns. A lot of that has come from the laws that have been passed now at the state level.
Take a look at this chart from the Department of Juvenile Services, released just last month. It shows in the last 2 years, violent crime, nonviolent felonies, and misdemeanors creeping up to pre-pandemic levels. It also states the number of youth who are victims of violent crime has increased significantly, with non-fatal shooting victimization of young people quadrupling. When you look at this issue from the state level, do you think that this is something our city council could really get a grip on? Alone, Patterson says no.
So what the city council can do is say, we're calling on our state legislature and the mayor, and recommend that to the mayor as well, for all these crime policies, really that's made that increase of crime happen this year.
In 30 days, the council will reconvene and agency heads will share their findings and efforts to clamp down on juvenile crime. Patterson says he'll be looking to see what steps they take next.
If the council is really willing to ask tough questions instead of the softballs that they generally give to the various departments, then maybe we can see a step forward.
Taylor Stewart, Fox 45 News.
Join us this Tuesday night for a town hall on public safety and criminal justice. It starts at 7 inside the bilingual Christian Church of Baltimore. Mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon will join a panel of public safety experts to answer your questions about the crime fight in Baltimore. Fox 45 News has reached out to Brandon Scott, inviting him to participate several times, but he hasn't responded. If you can't attend in person, watch it on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Well, after a cool day with mid-60s, it's cold and perhaps, yes, even for the first time this season, frosty north and west of Baltimore. A crisp start to your work week, so get ready with the kids' jackets and the heaters in the morning. A monster warming trend for Tuesday and beyond. Temperatures could be well into the 70s. I'm not talking like 70, 71, 72. I'm talking like 75 to 80 by the end of the week. Could even be threatening records. And then we'll have to be tracking a weather maker next weekend. So that's something that we're watching several days out. And even that looks like it may not happen exactly towards the end of next weekend, or there's some computer models are hinting maybe a little bit of rain, but it's certainly not a slam dunk. Toyota issued a Harbor Skycam right now. Beautiful after that huge Ravens win against the Lions today. Go Ravens, clear skies. 53, winds out of the west-northwest at 10. Humidity 50%, dew points. That's the measure of moisture in the air, nice and dry. And that actually helps to allow the temperatures to cool off overnight. And it didn't get too warm today. Temperatures below average in the mid-60s today. We're already down to 53 here in Baltimore now. 49 at Columbia, down D.C. way. 50 degrees at Laurel, 50 degrees Gaithersburg, and then heading up into Elkton as well as Bel Air. Temperatures right near 50. And we are on the way down and fairly fast. Now, you can see we've actually added in a couple of frost advisories out into West Virginia, and all this purple. These are freeze warnings, but outside of that, nothing really going on much on the radar. Just chilly conditions. Again, north and west of Baltimore, north and west of the Beltway, Carroll County, Hereford Zone. May want to bring those plants in tonight or have them covered over with the potential of some frost. Otherwise, sunshine coming back tomorrow. There are some bands of showers way off in the upper Midwest and some in New England, but nothing around here. So real quiet work week coming. Now, out in the tropics, Tammy, it's a hurricane. Winds at 85 miles an hour. Look at that. It actually makes a curve back toward The United States, perhaps. The good news is, though, by that time, I think it's becoming an extratropical storm and kind of losing its identity, even though the motion looks threatening. There's not going to be much there. That's how it looks. That's what computer models say by the time it's doing so. All right, now also down in the Western Caribbean, there's a 60% chance tropical development before that makes a landfall potentially into Nicaragua. That could become something. But again, it's going to only have until about Tuesday to do so. Now, Future Scan says overnight into early tomorrow morning. There it is, 6 a.m. Monday morning, 33 out into Westminster, 32 at Frederick, right near 40 here in Baltimore. I'm officially going with a low of 39. Then we pop those temperatures back up by noontime and beyond to about where they were today. Maybe not quite as windy, so it'll feel a little bit better. 39, clear and cold tonight, patchy frost north and west. 64 for tomorrow, an autumn feel, sunshine, looking great. Tuesday, how about that? Wednesday, 74, could threaten records there Thursday, Friday. The records are in the low 80s. 79 on Saturday, sunshine. Some spot showers arrive perhaps by Sunday.
Tonight, multiple reports that the U.S. is asking Israel to delay any ground invasion of Gaza as both countries wait for hostages to be released by Hamas. And new evidence shows Hamas may have plans for more attacks. National correspondent Christine Frizzau has the latest from the region and a warning: some of the images are disturbing.
Israel's attacks in Gaza not letting up. The death toll there, more than 4,600 people in the last 2 weeks, including more than 100 children in the last 24 hours. Israel's response to the Hamas-led massacre on October 7th has included attacks by air and potentially on the ground. The mission to eradicate the terror group Hamas.
The United States supports their efforts to diminish this terrorist threat.
Amid new reports of possible plans by Hamas to use cyanide as part of its battle plans. And growing signs much of the world is being drawn in some way.
We expect that there's a likelihood of escalation by Iranian proxies directed against our forces, directed against our personnel.
In addition to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the region, the Pentagon just announced the U.S. will send missile defense systems and has put some U.S. troops on notice to be prepared to possibly deploy.
We maintain the right to defend ourselves, and we won't hesitate to take the appropriate action.
Meanwhile, China also has multiple warships in the region for what it calls pre-planned goodwill visits. China and Russia now working together on Mideast policy. The Sun newspaper laying out the steps that could occur, a rapid spiral to World War III. The brutal attack on Israel and its response in the 2 weeks since, bringing terror and uncertainty about the days and weeks ahead. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
Well, police in Michigan are still searching for the person who stabbed the president of a Detroit synagogue to death yesterday afternoon. Police say Samantha Wool was found outside her home with several stab wounds. She was a prominent leader in the Michigan Jewish community. Police continue to investigate the motive behind Wool's death. Well, the House Speaker race heating up again as 9 Republicans have entered their names. Who's the front runner and where do Democrats stand on all of this ahead of the next vote expected Tuesday morning? Almost 3 weeks after the removal of the former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, almost no progress on finding his replacement. 9 Republicans have now thrown their hat in the ring, all filing to run after Congressman Jim Jordan failed to get enough votes 3 times. Well, the clock is ticking as Congress can't address crucial issues like federal spending and an aid package for Israel or Ukraine until a speaker is chosen.
If we don't have a Speaker of the House, we can't govern. And every day goes by, we're essentially shut down as a government. The world's on fire, and this is so dangerous what we're doing.
The highest-ranking candidate in the race is GOP whip Tom Emmer, who has McCarthy's support. A secret vote among the GOP conference is scheduled for Tuesday. Democrats are still throwing their support behind Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and Republicans have said they're unwilling to work with Democrats to find a consensus candidate. Still ahead, fighting between Israel and Hamas is into its 3rd week. A top Israeli official shares his perspective on where the war goes from here tonight on Full Measure. It has been 2 weeks since Hamas began its attack on Israel, leading to thousands of deaths in both Israel and Gaza as a result. Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson spoke to Israel's deputy ambassador to the United States and shares the latest on Israel's war efforts.
Strategically, what is it that you think Israel must do in the coming weeks, months, and maybe even years?
So we came out declaring and stating that our objective with this war, which was forced upon us, is once and for all to get rid of Hamas. And when we say getting rid of Hamas, it means the goal being having Israeli citizens feel safe and secure, not just those who live around Gaza who deserve it the most, but everybody around Israel. But the way of going about it is decapitating the ability of Hamas for ever carrying terrorism activities against Israel again, number one. Number two is basically taking away their ability to control Gaza. And the goal for us is to make sure that they do not govern there, because their governance affects Israel and is threatening and has been threatening Israeli cities, villages, neighborhoods, and citizens around the country.
If the enemy is willing to hit civilians and not follow any rules, but you're expected to never do that while they're using human shields around their munitions and areas they'd like to protect, how can you successfully prosecute a war?
It's a good question, Sharon. We adhere to the international law. We adhere to international humanitarian law while we are at war. I could stoop down as low as Hamas. It's not the way that we operate. We are a humane society, by Jewish law, but even by any human law, logical law, which is who we are and what we are. So while we are fighting the terrorists and fighting Hamas and pushing them back and crushing them as strongly as we possibly can, we are also doing our utmost to keep innocent civilians out of harm's way. And anything short of that is not Israel. Maybe we should have done this years ago, and then we wouldn't have reached this horrific attack that they conducted on October 7th. But there is also a very, very clear sense of determination of all Israeli society that now is the time to crush them once and for all.
Meantime, a second Islamic extremist terrorist group operating on a different part of Israel's border, Hezbollah, is leading to concern that the war could spread. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
In one of their most complete games of the season, the Ravens soared to a Week 7 win over the Lions. How the team dominated on both sides of the ball, that's coming up next on Sports Unlimited. A lifeline for hundreds of families today in South Baltimore. Gooder ran a pop-up grocery store today, allowing families the chance to come by and load up their cars with free groceries. Gooder's mission is to cut back on food waste going to landfills, and they're trying to help those living in some of Baltimore's food deserts. Organizers say families shouldn't have to choose between food and some other essentials.
We're here always to make sure that people get food. In these times where the economy is doing what it's doing, people can't afford food, or they have to choose between medicine or gas, or, so we want to try to bridge the gap for those that can't get food.
500 families participated in the program, each taking home a week's worth of groceries. Well, the beer flowing today. This weekend at the Maryland Zoo, the annual Oktoberfest brought hundreds of people to the zoo to drink for a good cause. Special events include pig bowling and pumpkin smashing, all to raise money for the zoo's conservation program. It is the zoo's second largest annual fundraiser behind Brew at the Zoo, which happens in May. Well, that's all the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thanks so much for watching. Morgan Atzett and Rocco DeSangro join us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan and Rocco.
Thank you, Mary. Come tonight on Sports Unlimited. Low London hangover, fresh off their trip across the pond. The Ravens saved their best performance for Week 7. Total domination over the Lions.
You said Lions, right? The Ravens made them look more like the Detroit Kittens, just getting after it on both sides of the ball in their best win of the year by far. Detroit considered one of the league's best teams entering the week, and the Ravens went out and punched them in the mouth. Many would call this a statement win, but not John Harbaugh.
Red zone issues, unable to close out games the last 2 weeks. The Ravens struggled offensively, but not the case against the best team they faced all season. Lamar Jackson and company proved how dangerous they can be.
And Mike McDonald's defense continues to stand tall. 6 points allowed, 5 sacks on the day. Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen sound off on another big game. That's coming up next on Sports Unlimited.
The Ravens saved their best for Week 7. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Sports Unlimited. He's Rocco DeSangro, Morgan Atzett.
Earlier in the week, in preparation for Detroit, Roquan Smith said, "It's a show-me business." And the Ravens showed the Lions they mean business. All the talk was about the Lions' high-powered offense. Well, Lamar Jackson and company had something to say about that. They were cooking from the first drive of the game. Jackson going to connect with Zay Flowers for the big 46-yard pickup. The rookie out of Boston College is a yards-after-catch machine. Just check him out on the run right there. The last 2 games, the Ravens were a combined 2 of 9 in the red zone. There's a point of emphasis this week. Lamar on 4th and 1. Going to find pay dirt. Check out Ronnie Stanley finishing his block on the right side of the screen right there. Ravens take a 7-0 lead. Ravens defense standing tall in this one. Just giving Jared Goff nightmares early on. Justin Madubuike in for the sack. Forces the fumble, recovered by the Lions. Madubuike's 3rd sack in 2 weeks. Lions drive would stall. Ravens' next offensive possession would not. Back in the red zone. Lamar Jackson surveying the field. Escapes pressure. Looking end zone. Plenty of time to throw. Hello, Nelson Aguilar. Ravens with touchdowns on their first 2 drives of the game. And they weren't done. Second quarter. Jackson to Mark Andrews. In the end zone on National Tight Ends Day because it's only right. 21-0 rather, Ravens lead. The red zone looked like more like the green zone, because they were going and going fast. Ravens defense would force another 3 and out. Offense back with the ball. Offense in the end zone again. Gus Edwards from 2 yards out. That's pocket change. Ravens 4 for 4 in the red zone to start. Here's the only blemish of the first half. Jackson botches the exchange with Justice Hill. Second time it's happened this season. Lions recover. Ravens led 28-0 at the half. Outgained the Lions 355-97. All week long, the Ravens talked about needing to keep their foot on the gas pedal as well in the second half. Lamar Jackson to Mark Andrews. How about 2 touchdowns for Andrews on National Tight Ends Day? Huge day for the Ravens defense. Lions go for it on 4th down. Geno Stone picks off Jared Goff. League-leading 4th INT for him. He has been playing out of his mind, and it's a contract year. Lions would get on the board in the 4th, so no shutout, but it's the Ravens dominating on both sides of the ball. In the big 38-6 win over Detroit. London hangover, not for this team.
They were locked in from day one. Every single guy was completely locked into practice. We had 3 excellent practices. I'll tell you, one thing about these guys, there's no turning to the right nor to the left. They are like this. That's how their focus is right now, every single day. You love it as a coach. That's how they feel. That's how they go to work. I wasn't even thinking about it. Everybody kept asking me about not taking the bye or whatever. You know, there you go.
There you go. Coach Harbaugh said it. It's the Ravens picking up a big 38-6 win over the Lions to improve to 5-2 on the year. Lamar Jackson, best game of the season, 357 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns. Mark Andrews with 2 scores on National Tight Ends Day and 2 sacks for Kyle Van Noy, Morgan.
It took longer than they wanted, week 7, but the Ravens finally pieced together a game that says this is the team we knew we could be. Total domination over the best teams in the NFC, division leaders with a top 10 offense and top 10 defense, and the Ravens hung 38 and won by 32. It started on offense. Ravens won the coin toss, took the ball. John Harbaugh said after that was wind-related, not an aggressive move. On offense, the Ravens went 4 for 4, scoring touchdowns on those opening drives, then ended up being 5 for 6 in the red zone. Jordan Stout didn't punt until the second half. Defensively gave up some garbage yards and touchdown in the 4th, but held the Lions to 40 net yards in the first half. Game over and early for one of the best Ravens wins in a while.
We're going to just define it in terms of what we think we're capable of playing like. And I promise you all the different things in that game that we feel like we can do better. But the things that we did well, we stand on and we build on, and things we can do better, we got to take with us out to Arizona and find a way to keep getting better. So that kind of creates a vision for what we can be. But let's go be even better.
I think it's time. You talk about the time of year that it is. It's time to separate and become the team that you want to be. I think if we can continue to stack, continue to get better, and take it week by week.
Lamar Jackson, the driving force behind this successful outing. The Ravens' defense this season has never been a worry, or shouldn't be. It was the offense. All new under offensive coordinator Todd Monken, who is supposed to revamp the Ravens' passing attack through 6 games